のはこうやってエンジンだよ。
Hello everyone. Today is December 14th of 2021, which is a day that Arataki Ito has finally been released as of filming time. So I wanted to do another Genshin Impact inspired makeup, as well as me telling some facts about these characters while I'm doing the look. I'm just going to be focusing on more of the eye makeup. So let's get started. Okay, so I think Ito has quite I'm looking at a reference picture right now. It's got kind of a heavy makeup look. I think I'm gonna actually start off with my Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna start off with this tan brown shade as my base shade for now, just to give some depth to my eyes. And while we do that, let's get into his facts. So just to give an overview, Ito holds a Geovision, and he is half Oni and also the leader of the Arataki gang. So in his official introduction, he's described as fast as the wind and mighty as thunder, and also an intrepid man with Oni blood running through his veins. He's also known to have many names. So for example, Arataki, the one and Oni Ito, Arataki numero uno Ito, Arataki the Oni Sumo King Ito, Arataki the Pride of Oni Ito, Arataki Beetle Gladiator Ito, Arataki the Ultimate TCG, I think that stands for Trading Card Game, Champion Ito, and my personal favorite, which is Arataki, he might lose, but will never admit defeato. And he has a bunch more, but I think we all get the idea. So let's dive into him a bit more. I wanted to start off with what Rie? I don't really know how to say her name, but this picture. So she describes him as mean and overbearing, but she also says that Ito is not a thug. Besides trying to pick fights with Kujo-Sara literally at any time that he can, and I think it's probably because she beat him during the vision decree hunt and took his vision. Ito is generally a very kind person. He loves playing with children. He sets up beetle fighting arenas and plays trading card games, and his hobbies also include spinning tops, kendama, hide and seek, and much more. I mean, if those are his hobbies, I can see why he gets along with the children so well. Because of Ito's Oni heritage, he's very prideful in both appearances and competition, but he's also able to just admit defeat and concede when absolutely necessary. And I think his voiceover about Kujo-Sara best exemplifies this. He says, you know what, yeah, she beat me during the vision hunt decree. I'm not ashamed to admit it. When you lose, you admit defeat, and when you screw up, you take it on the chin like a man. Great, I think that's pretty blended out. So next, I'm gonna take this darker brown, reddish brown shade, and I'm gonna focus it more like around the corners of my eyes here, just because he kind of has that as an eyeliner, but I'm gonna add red on top of it later. I just want more depth. Anyways, so Ito forces Yoimiya into a lot of friendly competitions. I think his friendly competitions with Yoimiya are more about who gets along better with the children of Inazuma City. So in his voiceover about Yoimiya, he says, she's always showing off her fancy fireworks and toys to kids. Well, I'm sick of it. Nobody steals my thunder. I'm the one that's supposed to be adored by the kids. Me. And on the opposite side, this is what Yoimiya says about Ito. Oh, he may look scary, but he's very popular with the children. However, he can be very competitive. Every time we play with the children, it always turns into a showdown between me and him. For example, we drink a bowl of ramen soup in one go, or try to eat sour plums without making any faces. The children will cheer us both on and try to guess the winner. And when that happens, well, I can't let him beat me, right? Ito also has quite the reputation within Inazuma City. He's not really considered a villain, but he's definitely not any type of law-abiding citizen. Apparently, there's a hazard level that Ito is assigned to, and basically when parents are trying to keep their naughty children in line, they'll say something along the lines of, if you don't behave, Arataki Ito will come and snatch your snacks away. This snatching snacks away threat seems to actually come from Ito taking snacks away from children in real life. He does that by winning the snacks off of kids in competitions. So for example, Shota. Remember Shota? Some of the daily commission quests are with him. He always complains that Ito always takes his snacks away whenever he wins. And people might think that's a really shameless thing to do, taking snacks away from children. But Ito seems to believe that every battle must be taken very seriously, regardless if your opponent is a 5-year-old kid or the shogun herself. And that's also exactly why Ito can lose to a child and not have any reservations about it. So even though the adults of Inazuma have a lot to say about Ito, the children of Inazuma see Ito as a rather good playmate. He's really knowledgeable in all manners of street games, and he plays all of them with great gusto. And you know that's very exciting for a kid. Ito also stands up for anyone who's getting bullied, which is another bonus point of why the kids like him so much. So next I'm using Claro Psych Box, and I'm going to take the red shade in here, and I'm just going to go over that I just did. I'm so bad at explaining what I'm doing when I'm not doing voiceovers. Anyways, what's really interesting about Ito is that I mentioned earlier that Kujosar took away his vision during the Vision Hunt decree. So in the game, you will see when people get their visions taken away, they become really lost. I guess like they don't have any ambitions and they can't remember a lot of stuff after their vision has been taken away, but that didn't seem to have happened to Ito, and this might actually be because of the Oni's values on principles and pride. I'm also going to be taking this red color and just kind of lining my lash line with it. Anyways, so Ito is described with his key traits as him with his striking horns. He's got a piercing voice that never goes unnoticed, and he's an untamed soul who is wild and free. And even the person with the boldest imagination, they can be surprised by him. He's also got a heroic spirit and a very passionate heart that guides him wherever he goes. So now I want to get more into the whole Arataki game, in which Ito describes himself as the first and greatest head. That's apparently one of his other additional titles. Originally, the Arataki game had less than 10 regular members. There's a lot of internal disagreement on how this game was founded. So one of the members' name is Akira, and he thinks that everything began when Ito actually saved him from a bunch of ruffians. So on that day, Ito persisted on fighting them off even though he had been knocked to the ground 7 times, which caused the punks to back off in annoyance. So when Ito was helping Akira from the ground, he just declared that Akira was a part of the Arataki gang now. But there's 2 other members named Genta and Mamoru, and they believe that the game was truly founded at the end of a certain year when they were all squatting on the outskirts of Inazuma City and they were roasting some lavender melons. And on that day, none of these gang members had a single mora to their name, and so they were all super hungry, and Ito was chomping down on a melon when he just sighed and he said, "We should roast lavender melons like this every year." And I guess they thought that because he wanted this tradition to go on, that day was the start of the Arataki gang. So then there's another member. Her name is Kuki Shinobu, and she's the sidekick of Ito and the deputy of the Arataki gang. And she thinks that the gang was officially formed when she was dragging Ito's ass out of jail, since that was the first time there was any official record of the name Arataki gang. And for Ito himself, he believes that the gang, the Arataki gang, came into existence when the words Arataki gang just popped into his head. Unfortunately, he just doesn't remember when that was anymore. Anyways, so now I want to get into the history of Ito. Ito, I mentioned earlier, has Oni blood running through his veins, so he's of Oni heritage. And there's a story of this crimson Oni and this blue Oni that every Oni child has heard. So the crimson Oni was a very gentle and helpful Oni who defeated the big blue evil Oni, and thus the crimson Oni earned the respect of the humans. That's it. So it's a super short story. I couldn't find anything more on it, but this was Ito's favorite story when he was a child, and so that made him really proud of his red Oni horns and his crimson Oni lineage. So I think I'm done with this eyeliner. It's a little blunt on this side. I don't know how to fix it, but anyways, we're gonna move on. He kind of has these like stripes going down his cheeks like this. I'm gonna do an inspired version of that and kind of just draw like 2 lines like that. Anyway, so continuing on, there was this one incident that happened when Ito was a kid. One day there was an incident of robberies that occurred in the village that Ito had lived in with his parents, and immediately Ito's family fell under suspicion because they were Onis. So even though Ito doesn't really remember the details of what happened that day, Ito remembers that the villagers would just be super cautious around him and his family and would give them these disgusted stares. And then when his family left the village, the villagers' last parting words with this family was, "Once an Oni, always an Oni." Ito and his parents had to leave the village, and sometime after, Ito's parents actually died from illness. So he was left all alone, and he turned to the streets. Yeah, and he would get into these fights every time someone badmouthed Onis. So even though he was the person getting into these fights, he would often be the person getting beat up. Even though he was the person getting beaten up all the time, he would repeatedly just keep getting back up, just like how he did when he was protecting Akira. Yeah, so he just never gave up no matter how many times people would knock him down. So one day, Ito just collapsed on the streets out of exhaustion and hunger after a round of beatings by some rogues who banded together against him. So he's still a child at this point, and then an old human woman came to save him, and this human turned out to be Granny Oni, who ended up taking him in. And she actually got her nickname of Granny Oni because of the fact that she took Ito under her wing. This is actually one of Ito's biggest troubles, as he talks about in his voiceovers. He says that Granny Oni is the kindest human that has ever lived, but people just go after her because of him. I'm just gonna go off camera and put on my mascara because it always takes forever. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm done. Probably can't even see a difference because I have no lashes. But next, before I get back into his facts, I'm going to take my Pat McGrath Mothership 5 palette. I want to use this gold color right here as my inner corner highlight for some of that geo power. So now that I've gotten more into the background of Ito as well as the Arataki gang, I just wanted to throw in some random facts about Ito. Apparently, he credits becoming the boss of the Arataki gang to his hard skills. That includes eating ramen while standing upside down, sleeping with his eyes open, and playing the harmonica through his nose, and also swatting houseflies with his hair. Also, gotta always talk about the food, you know? So Ito's favorite food is lollipops. And when I initially read that, I was thinking, is it because he's always taking snacks away from kids? And his least favorite food are beans. I'll talk a little bit more about beans in a bit, but I'm just gonna go back with the least one and go back with this, and I kind of want to line my inner corners a bit more. Yeah, so Ito's least favorite food is beans, and there's actually a scientific reasoning behind it. Apparently, all Onis are allergic to beans, and that's also one of the reasons why during like special events in Inazuma City, I actually don't know if this is a real tradition in Japan. I'll search it up. They throw beans into the street to ward off the Onis. So yeah, so due to Ito's Oni heritage, he's allergic to beans. But the Oni bloodline has actually thinned out a lot throughout the years. Most only have very slight or minor reactions to beans. But Ito, on the other hand, still has very severe allergic reactions. Like touching beans is enough to set off his allergies, let alone eating them, and he'll get itchy all over and find it hard to even breathe. It's very serious. So that's one of the reasons, or that is the reason why the Arataki gang members never order any dishes that have beans in it, not even in private. And that's kind of their way of showing their respect towards their boss. And one last thing about beans. So out of all the foods that are made out of beans, the one Ito is most terrified of is fried tofu. And he says that even at the sight of fried tofu will make him queasy for 3 days straight. That's all I had on Ito today. There's definitely a bunch more about him that I didn't include in this video, but I hope I did him a little bit of justice today. He seems so fun and so funny, and I can't decide if I should roll on him or not, because I'm saving up for Xiao. And good luck to everyone who is pulling for him on the current character banner, especially my fellow F2P players. And if you like this video, please leave a like and feel free to subscribe. But yeah, see you next time!